CCW is so much more than a gun and a holster. It's a feeling. It's the highest level of security and self-reassurance. With that comes a lifestyle. And this is our conversation. My name's Chris. Welcome to the Gun Lounge. Contrary to popular belief, even in the world of firearms, the firearms community, the firearms culture, there exists myths and politics. Yes, there isn't a place on this earth where politics has not infiltrated a system. No matter what culture, what genre, what crevice or crack, no matter what, politics and myths will always be there. The firearms community and culture is no exception. But when you deal with the myths and politics of the firearms community and culture, they're not the same Washington-style politics that we're talking about when we're talking about the firearms community and culture. When you deal with the myths and politics of the firearms community and culture, we're looking at more so a passion. You're talking about myths and politics that's implored on a firearms community and culture by us, we, ourselves, seasoned gun owners and seasoned trainers, seasoned individuals who've been doing this for quite some time. And there's nothing wrong with that because it comes out of a place of personal experience. It comes out of a place of personal passion. And all of us share this great passion for the guns we own, the guns that we use and run, the culture itself, self-defense, the Second Amendment. All of us share those things, so it's really a beautiful thing. So when we look at this, where do these things come from, these myths and these politics? It comes really from two avenues, one of two or both. The first avenue you have is your military and law enforcement per se. You have a military, you have law enforcement, and you also have federal agencies like the FBI. And people say, if the FBI is doing this, we'll do it. They say if this is good enough for the military, if this is what the military is doing, if this is the strategy they're using, if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for us. If this is what law enforcement is into, if this is what law enforcement is transitioning into, if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for us. And it seems good on the surface, but at the end of the day, that's them. This is us. That is them and this is you. Two different things. They don't have a choice in regards to what weapons they use and how they run them. They don't have a choice in regards to what strategies they employ and how they utilize them. They don't have a choice a lot of times. As civilians, we have choice. That's the beautiful thing. We don't have to do something just because they do it. We don't have to utilize the same military strategy that the military uses because the military uses it. As a civilian, as an individual, it's me versus the world. It's me, myself, and I'm responsible for my own safety and my family's safety as an individual. I'm not an 8-man squad. I'm not an entire army. Therefore, the same strategy isn't necessarily used in my day-to-day confrontation with criminal activity. The way I do and use things will be different, and my selection and how I go about choosing is completely different. The other avenue this might come from is who else? Your trainers. We have a large world full of thousands of firearms instructors and trainers. Apart from your ones that offer the CPL or CCW classes for your concealed carries, you also have a world that is even larger with advanced training and advanced systems that you run. And these advanced trainers are going to teach from a different platform in a different mindset and from a different place altogether, who's come to the table with their own individual experiences, and that is going to be the driving force behind the style and the way that they teach and instruct and the ideas behind how and why they instruct the way they do based on their experiences. But this is what I'm talking about. For the new gun owner, that is your foundation. For the newbie, for the person who's inexperienced, the rookie, that is your foundation, and that is a beautiful thing. But there comes a time when your foundation is built, your platform is built, and you evolve and you grow, and the goal is for you, the individual civilian, to grow and acquire your own experiences, your own ideas, your own way. And you have no limitation on what you can do and how you choose to do. That's the beautiful thing. This is the world of firearms, filled with myths and politics. Let's explore some of them. Hey, I'm gonna be honest, real talk. What's good for the goose is not good for the gander at all. That's real. When we look at all things, what is my message to the firearms community? Both the most advanced firearms guy to the rookie of them all. My message is simple. Be an individual. Consider this. What place in this country, consider one place in this country where the growth to an individual stance and status is not the objective. In school, you go through the school experience, and going through grade school, middle school, high school, college, the goal is not to stay in school, and the goal is not to stay in that particular grade level. It's to graduate and move beyond. When you look at all things, consider your work area, right? In your work environment, your goal of the work experience and the employee status is not to stay on one level and stay where you are. It's to grow to the top of the food chain if possible. And if you get to the top, you need to be an owner or start your own business, one or the other. And that's true with family, that's true with anything that you do. The goal is always to grow to a point to where the foundation and the basics are covered, and you can now establish your own identity or establish your own foundation. You get to build now your own life, your own individual experience. So when we look at firearms myths and we look at the politics that come along with firearms, let's just look at a wide array of them. You know, this is actually a subject matter that can go on forever because all these different things keep coming. It's non-ending. We could do thousands of videos on myths and politics of guns, but we're not going to do that. But I want to look at them and explore some of them because it's actually quite interesting. A lot of them come from within the culture and some come from outside of the culture. But either way, let's look at it and actually explore some of these things, right? It's interesting. Number one, first and foremost is going to be calibers and the caliber debate. The myths behind calibers, you know, what is the best caliber? 9 versus 45, you know, 357 Magnum versus 44, and what can and cannot be used effectively and all these other different things. And I'll say, like I said in another video, when it comes to calibers, there is no win-all, one-all, be-all for calibers. Every man is going to select their caliber based on how they like. You're either at the top of the food chain for stopping power or you're at the top of the chain for, you know, capacity. Either or, a lot of times you'll find the proper firearm, you can kind of get the best of both worlds based on the design, the capacities, all these different things. So at the end of the day, pistol calibers suck for killing things, but nonetheless, that's all you really have to run with and carry in this world. So you're going to carry the one that resonates with you the best. This is a personal thing. There is no winner when you talk about what's the best caliber. There's no such thing. There is no best. It's what is best for you. What's best for him is not what's best for you. What he runs the most effectively is not what you're gonna run the most effectively. So on and so forth. When it comes to these things, it's like religion. You know, it's to each their own. The proper way to hold a firearm. There is no proper way to hold a firearm. There is either a safe way or there is an unsafe way. There is no proper way to hold a firearm. This has been disproved because when you talk about the world of competition shooting, which is different from the self-defense world, but nonetheless, we have to explore the subject matter. When you talk about the world of competition shooting, all of these thousands of competition shooters are above and beyond the best of us when it comes to shooting a handgun in its most effective way. All them trained for days and months and years and decades on end to be the most efficient, the most proficient, the most accurate, and the fastest and most precise that they can be with this firearm. And as you look over all the hundreds of most popular competition style shooters in 3 guns, all of them are going to have different ways and different styles of holding and gripping and shooting and utilizing a firearm. Rather it's simply cupping it a certain way or putting that finger on front of the trigger guard. All of them are going to do different things. That's because we're individual people. We like different things and each thing works different from this person to this person. Nothing's the same for all of us. Another myth, you know, and politic, how to wear your firearm. You wear your firearm however it's most comfortable for you. the safe thing that I look at in regards to carrying a firearm is that trigger guard covered? If the trigger guard is covered, I don't care which and how you decide to carry that firearm. If you want to ghetto tuck it, if you want to put it in the pocket of a coat, if you want to use all these exotic type of holsters, whatever you want to do, there's no right or wrong way to carry this gun. There's just a safe way and an unsafe way. Is the trigger guard covered? If you are going to conceal this weapon, there's no right or wrong way to conceal your weapon. You conceal it however it feels most comfortable to you, the individual person. It's not based on how he tells you or how this instructor says or how this person says. It's based on you, the individual. Nobody's body type is made up exactly the same. The way we move our bodies is not the same. Everybody's a little bit different than the next. Some of our legs are a little bit shorter than the next. You know, all these different things really play a factor. So when you talk about these things, like as if there's one way to do something, you know, I beg to differ. There's 1,000 ways to do that, 1,000 different ways to do that one thing. Safeties or no safeties? Another big debate that goes on a lot of times, you know. I said this before and actually made a video about this out in the Second Amendment Minute somewhere, you know, and when it comes to safety, each person has a different feel and a different view on why they would want a gun with a safety or without a safety. For one, you're going to have the people who don't want a safety because they're looking at how fast can they employ this firearm and use it under stress without having to worry about extra things like safeties or controls or buttons. But then you have the other person that says, the safety really isn't for me, the safety is for my children and for the people who I don't want who might end up getting that firearm. That's what it's about. Single action versus double action. You know, this is another thing that kind of gets people going and gets people, you know, moving in one direction or the other. Both of these guns are two different types of weapon. They're two different builds. They're two different makes. And the way that a striker fire works is a little bit different than the way a hammer fire works, you know, especially when you talk about an exposed hammer. But nonetheless, the biggest thing is going to be the trigger pull. That's what people are going to get at the most when it comes to double single action and a striker fire weapon. That trigger pull is going to feel different on each and every one of those guns. And when you get into a double action, single action, or striker fired, the trigger is going to be different from gun to gun to gun, and the way that you break that shot, the reset on that trigger, all these are going to matter and mean that much to the person running that gun. So if you're a person and you get into double action guns, you're into them because you know how to work that gun and it means something to you. It matters how you utilize it and how you work it. So at the end of the day, that's going to work best for you. But the striker fire guns hold a certain soft spot in my heart, only because the trigger is consistent. I know what it's going to be at all times. But when you talk about a personal favorite of mine, the 1911, you know, the single action only, that's my favorite trigger because to me, that's the best trigger in the world. It's going to break the best in the world, the smoothest in the world, especially when you upgrade it to a competition style. It's just, it's my personal thing that I'm into. But what's personal to you and your opinion is going to be completely different. You see what I'm saying? Here's another myth. Firearms owners are all violent and bloodthirsty. Come on, are you serious? Firearms owners are all bloodthirsty and all violent. Okay, how does this make sense when you're talking about over 100 million, that's 1/3 of your country, 100 million firearms owners in this country, and they make up less than 0.5% of the crime rates in relation to gun firearm related crimes? That's not possible. They can't be the most violent and the most bloodthirsty when they don't make up any of the crime rate. Are you talking about firearms owners that are legal, legit, law-abiding citizens, or are you talking about the criminal element? There's a difference. You have to separate those worlds when you say something like that. Consider it. Another political hot button, you know, all firearms owners are Republicans. Come on now, are you serious? There's firearms owners right now who probably even love the Second Amendment, but will go out tomorrow and vote Democrat. These are the firearms owners that exist in this world that we live in that are Democratic and not Republican, and will go out and vote for anti-gun Hillary Clinton the next day. I don't know why it's like that, but it is. I don't know who decides who can and can't be Republican, who can and cannot be a gun owner based on the red or blue blood that you carry in your veins. It just depends. But at the end of the day, a Republican or a Democrat doesn't matter when a person's notion of self-defense is at hand. A person will own a gun and vote Democrat, even if it's contrary to their constitutional rights. I don't know why it's like that, but at the end of the day, a person is not going to be something just because you think stereotypically this is what this stands for or this stands for. It's confusing as hell to me, I know. So for you, it's probably the same thing. I don't know why it's like that, but all of us know the person that comes into the gun store and they're pro-Democrat, pro-Obama campaign, pro-anti-gun in some ways, but they're buying firearms. I don't know, I don't understand it, but it is what it is. The firearm safety Nazis. Everybody knows these people. They're on a lot of the pages, a lot of the forums, and in the comments on a lot of video sections. And the safety Nazi that's a different type to me when we talk about the politics of guns, because you're talking about the safety, the safe using and handling of firearms. But are you really concerned about that person's safety who's demonstrating or who's using or picking up that firearm or reviewing this firearm? Are you really concerned about their safety, or are you just trying to get the point across that, you know, we should all adhere to these certain safety laws? Listen, this is my take. Every man should have the personal responsibility of knowing the condition of all the firearms that you are in possession of at all times. I can tell you the conditions of all my firearms in all places of the house, from the guns in my drawer to the guns in the safe to the guns in the walls to the guns in the refrigerator to the guns stuffed away in closets and tucked away in all these strategic places. I know the conditions of those guns at all times. Whether there's one in the chamber, if this gun has a safety, if the safety is on, if it's not on. I can tell you off the top of my head the conditions of all the guns I own at all times, because that's just called personal responsibility. So if a person doesn't decide to check their weapon the way it needs to be checked on camera, that means they've probably already done it. Be concerned about the person's safety, not the gun's safety, I guess you could say. Another politic within the gun world: carrying two types of guns, or running two different styles of guns, or running two different calibers on your body at the same time. I'm a guy that likes to dual wield from time to time, I really do. And I'm gonna carry two different types of guns, two different styles of guns, two different types of guns chambered in two different types of calibers. That's just the person I am. But consider this when we talk about that. A lot of people are uniform. They like uniformity in everything, and I kind of get that. But consider this. Most of us can drive a motorcycle. Most of us can drive a car. And if you, like me, the second car you've ever owned or the first car you've ever owned was a manual transmission, stick shift. I've owned both type of cars, automatic and manual, at any given time, no matter what time of the day, at what place. I can hop out of an automatic, hop right into a manual transmission and run that car and run the clutch the way it needs to be efficiently, without a second of hesitation and without a second thought. It's second nature. So if I pick up one striker fire gun and then I move to another style gun, which is a hammer fire with safeties and a single double action trigger or whatever the case is, trust me, I can run that gun just as efficiently as this one, because it's just like hopping out of a manual and going to an automatic, or going from an automatic to a manual. It's automatic. You just do it because that's what you're trained and conditioned to do. It's not hard. If you can walk and chew bubble gum, then you can run two different types of guns, no problem. Another one, the best CCW gun. There's no such thing as the best concealed carry weapon or the best gun that's out there. There's no such thing. It doesn't matter what it is. You know, when it comes to firearms, what do you like? What are you into? The world of concealed carry has taken over in regards to smaller package, slim, single stack, very small subcompact guns. They have pretty much taken over the world, and that's crazy because that market is like hot right now. That's such a hot button market. I mean, that market is doing huge on numbers. I mean, it's just outgrowing, it's bursting at the seams. When did this start? When did this concealed carry market thing like take off the way it did? I'm happy for it. It is what it is. Business is good. But at the end of the day, the ideology behind what is now the trending, this is what a concealed carry gun is, and this is what the best is for concealed carry, is not necessarily so. Because traditionally we're talking about, like I said, that small package, single stack, slim, whatever gun is the one for concealed carry, and that's not necessarily so. I have people come into my store all the time looking to purchase firearms and get into something for concealed carry. I show them 3 or 4 different types of guns, but I always tell them, do not shy away from a full-size gun or carrying a full-size gun. It's not going to work for everybody, but you might find, being who you are, your body shape, that this works for you. Carrying a concealed weapon is not like a fashion statement or a fashion trend, I guess you can say. I don't carry this gun because this is trending at the time. I don't carry a firearm because it's the most comfortable. I carry a firearm because this firearm I'm going to carry is the best and most capable gun at getting me out of the potential jam or terrorist attack or threat or criminal element that I'm going to come across. I want my gun to do the best job at defending me from that threat. I don't want it to be super small and feel like an iPhone. That's not what I want. I want it to do the best possible job. So I'm the guy who's going to run a full-size gun. I'm the guy who's going to conceal carry a FNX 45 tactical, because you can do it and get away with it. If it works for you, it works for you. Like I said, this video can go on forever. This video never has to end. These trends and topics can go on forever and ever and ever. If you come up with something I haven't came up with, just due to time limits, put it in the comments. Let's continue this thing in there. Let's go for it. I mean, I could care, I could care so much less. But it's interesting to me, and the subject matter is interesting because there exists politics in this world, and it's a lot of times it's given from the inside, sometimes it's from the outside. But nonetheless, at the end of the day, let's look at all these things and let's explore them. But remember, at the end of the day, be an individual. Do something because you like it. Do something because that's what you're into, because what you want. Do it because that's the thing that makes sense to you. And as an individual person, as you've walked this journey, you've gained the experience to make your own decisions and do what makes sense for you based on your life and what is most capable in your mind.